So Julie Kurtz says we have 4 brain parts. The prefrontal cortex. This is the executive center. The call it the air traffic control, right? It's like the on top of everything. So that would be abstract thought, reasoning. It's like the higher functioning, impulse control, empathy. Even imagine that's a high level function, to be able to have empathy for another person, to be able to place yourself into another person, and imagine what it would be like to be them and relate to them. So, and logical reasoning, sustained attention, perspective taking. Then we have the limbic system. This is the emotional center. It's basically very important for relationships. And we have the hindbrain. So the limbic system is about attachment, emotions. These are small, medium, or large emotions. Significance, belonging, inclusion. Then we have the hindbrain, the survival brain. This is everything from heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, body temperature, sensations, fight, flight, or freeze. Sometimes they added fawn. I want to go back for a second and add limbic system. I remember learning about how the limbic system is right near the memory center and the emotional center. The emotional center is also right near the smells. The olfactory system bypasses the switchboard and goes straight in. And that's why we're so emotionally affected by smells, and smells trigger memory, and emotions and memory go together. These 3 centers, smell, emotion, and memory, are connected. You could study for tests and you could memorize things using smells, and you could start coding into your body emotional states of being that you like by using smells. And I guess also like smells are able to calm emotion, and it makes me think of like the Jewish incense that was for the temple was supposed to like alleviate the divine consciousness's wrath. And think about how I love good smells and incense and perfume and flowers, and just pretty amazing, like the mirroring of the realms, like the physical world and the body and the brain, and then in the spiritual world also. Anyway, then the 4th part is the amygdala, which is the alarm center. I went to a 12-step meeting, and I was thinking about, moving through from like maybe addictive behaviors, which are meant to sort of like be a band-aid or numb out or distract. Let's say hiding the self, not sharing because of scarcity mindset, feeling I don't matter. So like the substance matters, whether it's cigarettes or food or whatever. Feeling like a stray cat, like a homeless orphan, sometimes wanting to run away, like leaving on a bus, never come back, not believing in the self. And also disappointment, like lashing out because I didn't get what I wanted, or anyone. Resentment to others who are like, let's say when I gained weight, I would like look at women and be like, why do they get to be more beautiful and thin, and like resenting them. Or let's say somebody who's like needs alcohol to function, like, why do those people get to have all these amazing blessings? And if I had those blessings, I wouldn't drink either, Anyway, and just being like sobbing out the misery at night because feeling like no one loved or understand the person. And let's say, using fat again as an example, let's say unhappy as fat would be unhappy as fit, because the happiness doesn't come from the body shape. And so when we move to solutions, we're actually moving through, we're bringing all the other parts of the brain on board, but really the brain goes through the body. So it's also our mind, our consciousness. And this is when we really tap into that like more spiritual realm I mentioned. We like plug into our higher power, to the source of power that could get us through, rather than numbing or band-aids. And we see the big picture. We become adaptive. We become of service. We have self-trust, and we accept and love ourselves and others. And it's also about being able to give up control. Maybe the amygdala, when it's wiring, it's like we want control to stop the threat. I want to share something from the Zohar. It says, the Shekhinah is pure fine flower, in which darkness and gloom cannot become mixed up. And she's as a vine that rejects a graft of another sort that's not its type. And I feel like this is also about like divine consciousness, because Victoria Miretti says sometimes people don't have capacity for the love you seek and deserve. She goes on to say, sometimes anxiety is a truth detector. Let's say you got anxiety about something. When there's something off, when there's a lack of security, safety, consistency, or there's an emotional inability. Healing is learn to trust the signal instead of overriding it because you want it to work, or because you think if you're good enough, or if they loved you more, then they'd stay. And I know there was a person who was causing me some anxiety, and thinking in which, like, the anxiety is coming kind of like what the Zohar teaches, like it's like something's not matching, and we could trust like the divine self to guide us. And Gottesman says there's a difference between someone who walks in your life and someone God sent for you. When you learn to wait for the difference, you'll never confuse the two again. Letting someone go through God to get to you means you trust his judgment over your impulse. And when it comes to relationships, I have 2 more things I want to share. One is Annalisa Bahadur says, when someone goes silent for days without explanation, it's not healthy. And this is something this person was doing to me. You get a say that you need communication and clarity in a relationship. Like, I kept thinking, was I not safe? Like, did I do something wrong? I tried to be safer, more compassionate, more bend myself in a pretzel, more bend over backwards, more like, shut down, become shrinking, more like trying to appease them, more flirtatious, like just really like you have the right to say you don't tolerate this kind of behavior. If it happens again, you owe it to yourself to leave. Don't beg or wait for them to do it again. Take agency for your protection. Now, most recently, this person did it again. They just like blocked me because I was cursing them out because I was really hurt. And they kept rejecting me. So my reaction, now I got punished, right? The distance was hurting me. So then they punished me with more distance. I had to use somebody else's phone to other people to get through to this person. They did not answer anything until I was texting. And they still didn't want to talk to me after that. And what I realized after all that was that I didn't even get what I wanted, right? So someone who deliberately uses silence to hurt you will do it forever, especially if they know it works. And you can't fix someone who uses silence as a punishing tool to beat you down into submission, because I realized if I'm carrying all the connection, I'm the connection. I can connect with myself and connect with others and leave that person behind. Now, I was projecting myself into them, thinking it's so painful to be left behind. And there's so much regrets later for not showing up and missing the boat and the opportunity. But I do not, like that's my healing sometimes, is just like to recognize the anxiety coming is because they're not my vibe and they're not my like energy. And it's like I'm rejecting them. And then I don't want to reject them, but it's like an addiction to like ignore and put a Band-Aid on. Better to face like the sense that there's a higher power that's arranging everything. Like Gottesman said, the ability to be able to like let God choose people. And then like even in the brain, letting the brain heal from having to be in the amygdala, trying to find the threat. What's the threat? And then the silent treatment. I remember when the person, like another time, like there was like, I didn't know if they blocked me or not. There was like a pit in my stomach. I'm like, I can't live like this. Always waiting for like the other shoe to drop. Because once they did it, like she says, could always happen again. And so they broke my trust on many times, like when this person said I could need him and he wasn't there for me when I needed him, and he didn't care. And I tried to give him so much feedback about how to not have anxiety and how to not need a sleeping pill to sleep at night, but rather like do the right thing so you sleep like a baby. And he wouldn't listen to me. And so a big part of like, for me, what outgrowing this is letting him make his own choices, have his own olam haba, and not projecting my inner child into him. Because if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't do that. Because what I'm trying to say is that I can't put myself in his shoes because I wouldn't do that. So living with the shock that this is a man and he would expose me to this kind of behavior, that I shouldn't be able to rely on someone, that I'll be abandoned, the carpet will be ripped out from under me, I'll be misled, I won't be prioritized, I'll be like rejected, deprived, neglected, just for him to get like a little dose, a hit of power. And I kept looking like, if only like I would have been easier to love, I wouldn't have been a failure. But it's easier to accept that I'm a failure at making this person healthy than it is to keep every single day failing to get my needs met through this person who's causing me anxiety because they're using silent treatment and not checking on me, not calling me, not answering my calls, and never making up for the times they did that in the past. Like big things like my birthday, perm holiday, they told me to be at home at 1:30 in the morning to be available for them so we could connect. And they flaked, and then they wouldn't tell me what they were doing instead. And then also, and I left people I was hanging out with to go to be available for him. And then also like when I was lonely and interested in him and he made it seem like we were going to talk like in an hour, and then he just flaked. And then the next night he also didn't like answer, and it adds up, and he never came to do any repair. And then I started learning from a woman who compiled a bunch of Torah sources about how is, according to the Torah, a husband supposed to look after his wife, from the Talmud and other places in the Torah. So there's this woman, Jewish Filipino, JEWISHFILIPINO on Instagram. She says, number 1, She'era, which this is to provide consistent nourishment and care, aka food. But she says food, She'era, but that's actually to provide consistent nourishment and care, okay? Then clothing, Kasuta, this is to provide proper clothing, necessities according to the family standard of living. Intimacy, which is Ona, sexual needs, but also I've heard it as not just sexual needs, intimacy like on all levels. And so sexual needs and all that it entails. Because if you're afraid of being abandoned or deprived, or you're afraid like that the person is not being faithful, then you can't really have proper sexual, satisfaction with the person. So I believe it includes like all of that, all the layers that lead up to being able to be like fully sexually available and satisfied and oneness. And so it's like, actually, it's very interesting. It's categorized as her right and his obligation, even though usually we think like men want to do this. So it's portrayed as something that is meant to make her feel good. So women are not being used, they're being pleased. Number 4, love your wife as yourself. Number 5, honor her more than yourself. Dignity, respect. 6, speak gently, not with fear, anger, or harshness. 7, there's a quote that says the wife ascends with husband, doesn't descend. So that means maintain her standard of living, a dignified quality of life. 8, maintain shalom bayis, which means household peace. And that's with patience, kindness, appreciation, emotional responsibility. 9, financial security. This is called the ketubah. In other words, the sense that there will be housing, financial support, and protection if he dies or if they get divorced. 10, taharat mishpacha, which is believed to strengthen the emotional connection and renew physical passion afterwards, where there's a period of separation in order to stay pure while the woman has her period. And for a certain, the custom is for people who count a certain amount of time after, according to the interpretations of what the rabbi says. To be extra stringent, there's also a count of 7 days after the blood ends of the period, the menstruation. So the husband has to observe the boundaries of no physical contact during the menstruation. And you would say that he still needs to be able to give her the good relationship. So he needs to find other ways to connect with her and get through to her besides physically. So we'll stop here, and I wish you all the best. And may we have our dreams come true. May we have a relationship where the man is so righteous, holy, kind, holds space for the woman, the best version of himself that he could find in her. Maybe he doesn't like his reflection at first, but he just keeps welcoming her and nurturing her and says things like, I'm here, I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm not going to leave you, and I'm right here, and I'm staying here, and I want to be here. Undivided attention. And he can't do that if he doesn't give himself undivided attention. So it really has to set the tone with like the new versions of him have to be received with love. As she's emerging, also, sometimes she just needs to be heard. Women don't always need a solution. We want to be heard. We want to process. Where, she's treated as sacred. And a man represents, like, he doesn't give a woman anxiety. He opens up, tells her all the information she needs to feel calm and safe with him. And where he could be of service, not dominating. And he should appreciate, like, the feminine, what she does for him when he makes space for her. And appeases her in order to have a relationship, and that he can't get there without her. Like, the woman is able to bring to him like how to sleep well, how to work well, how to eat well, how to live well, for his level, for his way. So may the masculine become more divine, become a divine masculine. May every masculine download this new paradigm shift. Amen.